Hey, Canucks fans, would you be okay if Brock Boeser was still on the team when the season starts in October? Now, that might sound like a silly question, and you're saying, well, Clay, of course we want Brock Boeser on this team. But I know there are a lot of people out there that are saying he's the piece that you have to move to free up $6.7 million of cap for the next two seasons. And given that his production seemed to be a bit down, and maybe he's not been passed on the depth chart by guys like Andrei Kuzmenko. And while I have, I guess, a little bit of time for those arguments, I don't have a lot of time for those arguments because when I think of the three wingers that we always talk about, of Boeser, Garland, and Beauvillier, of those three players, I do like Brock Boeser the best. I also think that he's going to be the hardest to trade of those three. I'll get into that in a second. So I'm bringing this up right now because Pierre LeBrun, about 3 hours ago, after I recorded my vlog from this afternoon, he put his newest article up on The Athletic, and he has a 4-paragraph section related to Brock Boeser. And I'm just going to go through it real quick. So this was LeBrun's typical update of news and notes from around the league. It says this: the temperature seems to have cooled down on the Brock Boeser front. Remember, the Canucks gave his agent permission during this past season to feel out the trade market directly by speaking to teams. Nothing came of it, and my understanding is there haven't been any teams calling this offseason so far. And while he's still a name that many view as a potential trade bait this summer, the reality from what I'm hearing is the Canucks are more than happy to keep him in the fold if nothing comes their way that makes sense. Boeser requested a meeting with Canucks GM Patrik Allvin after the season, in which the players shared that he would prefer to stay put. That isn't to say he's no longer in play. The Canucks are still listening. They're in need of a number 3 center and a blue line upgrade. But all things being equal at the moment, there's very little activity here. So there's nothing earth-shattering in this update from Pierre LeBrun, but I think there are a couple of interesting points. The first interesting point is that Brock Boeser told GM Patrik Allvin that he wants to stay in Vancouver. That sentiment doesn't surprise me. We've always known that Boeser likes the city, he likes the organization, he likes the fans, and I think he feels like the fans and this organization have done him right through some a couple of very tough years the past 2 seasons. And we know how competitive he is. We know how talented he is. And we know that this fan base really wants him to succeed. So there's no surprise that he preferred to stay put. I guess what's interesting is that it came out that he actually, if this is true, that he actually requested or had that meeting with Patrik Allvin. Or maybe it was during another thing about it, it might have been during the regular exit meetings where he expressed this. But for him to express that he wants to stay put, that's actually a good thing if you're a Brock Boeser fan. And then the other part is the Canucks are more than happy to keep him in the fold if nothing materializes. And I guess there's no rocket science there. If you're not going to get a good deal, if you think you're getting ripped off on a deal, you're not going to make the deal. And there's nothing that says the Canucks have to make a deal for Boeser in particular. Now let's talk about his contract. You do have to move someone. We know that the Canucks are capped out, and if they're going to do any upgrades on their blue line or bring in a third line center as part of free agency, you're going to have to move out some cap space. And you always hear the same five names: Boeser, Garland, Beauvillier, OEL, and Myers. Some combination of buyout and trade and sweetener and everything. But of those 3 forwards, as I said earlier, of Boeser, Garland, and Beauvillier, I do like Boeser the best. And I'll talk about his statistical profile in a second. But I've always liked Brock Boeser a lot. But when it comes to trading him, he's probably the hardest to trade because he still has $6.65 million for 2 seasons remaining, whereas Garland has 3 seasons remaining, but he's only at 4.95, so almost a full $2 million less. And Beauvillier is probably the most attractive of all these players. He only has 1 year left on his contract at 4.15. So not only is Beauvillier $2.5 million cheaper than Boeser, he's also has 1 fewer year on his one less year. Fewer year? 1 less year on his contract. 1 fewer year. It's an amount. 1 fewer year on his contract. So that's why I think Boeser is actually the hardest to trade of those 3. So while it's nice to hear that he wants to stay, it's nice to hear that the Canucks want to keep him. I think the reality is you're going to have a hard time moving him unless you attach a bunch of sweeteners or prospects, and we don't want to do that, obviously. Now, we talk about Brock Boeser's statistical profile. He had 55 points in 74 games this season, 18 goals, so that was a low for sure. His second lowest of his career. 18 goals, 37 assists. So 55 points in 74 games. still makes for a points per game average of 0.74, which is still very good. Like 3.74, that's borderline, low end first line, more of a high second line production rate. And you might say, well, he seemed to have a really off year last year because he only had 18 goals, didn't even get to 20. But his 0.74 points per game, not far off his career average going into the season of 0.79 points per game, which is obviously a very good career average. So it's not like he dropped off of the side of a cliff. It's not like it was a brutal drop off in stats. It was only 0.05 points per game, and you times that by 80 games. That's only what, 4 points fewer this season than on average. So it wasn't like he was brutal. I think one thing about Boeser's game that we've come to appreciate is he's tried to work on his two-way game, his defensive play. But according to all the metrics, which I haven't really gone into, admittedly, that this was one of his worst two-way seasons of his career. So do you want to, I don't know if you want to sacrifice, well, no. What you want to do is to play a really good two-way game and have his point totals come up. Now, so that's just, in terms of stats, he had a bit of a drop-off, but it wasn't as bad as, say, a lot of people would say. But I think it's because of the goal total that, after seasons of 29, 26, then 16, but he only played 57 in that one, then 23, 23, 18 is quite shocking. But leading to that two-way point I made, he was a -20. Prior to the season, the worst he's been was a -5. So to hit a -20 is indeed not great. He also had his lowest shooting percentage in 3 seasons as well. So I think everything points to a bounce back season for Brock Boeser. At least I hope so. The Canucks need him to be better and healthy, Demko to be better and healthy. They need so many players to be better and healthy. But I think Boeser is a key one, because I talked about in my vlog earlier today when I was talking about Podkolzin, is there's a real logjam of wingers on this team. Presuming everyone's healthy, and for Pearson, that's a big if. But there is Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, Boeser, Garland, Beauvillier, Pearson, Podkolzin, probably Höglander. So there's at least 8 wingers competing for maybe 6 top, top 9 spots, if that makes sense. Yeah, 3 left wingers and 3 right wingers. So I think if Boeser can get more goals, play with more confidence, and become a real scoring threat like he was earlier in his career, it's going to make the team that much better, and it's going to hopefully vault them in the standings. And if Boeser has a really good season, then maybe, just maybe, he becomes more tradable at the end of the season. I'm not advocating for that, but I think we can all agree that his trade value right now, this moment in time, is not very high. Thus, putting it all back to the Pierre LeBrun article, not, like I said, not massively surprising what was said, but it was still interesting to hear it actually explicitly stated as Pierre LeBrun did. So Canucks fans, let me know, what are your expectations for Brock Boeser this season? And do you think the Canucks should try and shop him? But even if so, what are you realistically getting back for Brock Boeser? We'd love to know your thoughts. We can talk about this a bit more tonight on my live stream at 11 p.m. Hope you can join me. Shout out to my sponsors, Vancouver Experts Real Estate, Perform and Transform, Personal Training, Weight Loss. Thank you, legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Carol Bovenlander, legendary Andrew Chang, Hall of Fame and franchise members as well. Thanks for your support. Thanks to all of you. Always appreciate you. Never take you for granted. So on your way out, subscribe, like the video, leave a donation, become a member, upgrade your membership, and leave a comment down below. Your thoughts on Brock Boeser, your expectations for him this season. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. I'll see you at 11 p.m. tonight. God bless, and go Canucks go.